Slightly different question. Looking back at your career today, of these three options, what do you feel like you could have been better at, or what do you feel like has been your shortcoming? A, communication, B, mental contentment, or C, acceptance of criticism?
Like, as in 1, 2, and 3?
Just of those, what stands out to you as...
I think I actually thought about that on my own the other day. I wish that, I'm 29, I'm almost 30 now, and I look at the sport and everything a lot different. And I think I wish if I could have been in the mental position that I am now, earlier on, I think I would have been off better.
Yeah.
I think just my personality when I was younger, you're just, a little bit more high-strung. And I'm still high-strung, but a little bit more high-strung when I was younger. And but I think, that's just maturity, right? And we did mix it up quite a bit by coming overseas and stuff. Like, it wasn't the normal environment. Like, there's a lot of factors to it. And I think, also where the sport is nowadays is different than say 10 years ago when I first came over. So I would say that if I could have had that mentality that I have now when I was younger, just the calmness side of things, and I just feel like I'm a lot smarter nowadays than I was back. I was fast and fit, but I feel like I'm a lot more content nowadays than I used to be.
Yeah, I guess back in the day you were always chasing this happiness. You never quite knew what it was, but it didn't matter if you won the MX2 title, won the West Coast Championship. You just never quite got there, and it must have almost been confusing in a way.
Yeah, and you get so used to winning as well, right? And I think just the injuries definitely threw a massive wrench into things. And honestly, the reason I'm talking about the mental side of things, because I feel like the whole EBV struggle, the Epstein-Barr struggle that I had over these past few years were really hard for me to deal with, because it was a lot out of my control, and I never understood why. Because mentally I always wanted to, I always tried to do all the right things, but because for me, I struggled with depression and stuff, like naturally with the Epstein-Barr when I have these flare-ups, and I couldn't just shake it, you know what I mean? So with that, like your self-confidence, everything kind of goes down the drain. It doesn't matter how much training you've done or what you do, you just feel super, like first off, weak and fatigued, right? Like I was never able to access the fitness and the strength that I had. So I just think that the biggest thing probably was the Epstein-Barr for me over years and years, and over weeks and sometimes months. Like I just couldn't shake it, right? And with that, like I said, all the confidence, everything went down the drain. And I think I now know how to deal with things a lot better, maybe because of that. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of a unique situation for me, just having the struggle with Epstein-Barr that some people may not. And I think also somebody that doesn't struggle with it is really hard to explain, and they just don't understand unless you have somebody that has these type of things, because it comes out of nowhere, it sneaks in, and it's just it's a funky one. Yeah, it's really hard to explain.
I guess hindsight's a wonderful thing. Once you retire, if a young rider asks for your help, you would obviously try to help them find that mental balance quicker. Do you think that's even possible, or do you think it's just something that comes with 10 years in the sport, going through the ups and downs?
I think guidance it's for sure possible. I think depending on who you work with, you kind of have to figure out the character a little bit, right? And I would plan and adjust that accordingly, and especially if it were to be something, if say you retire and you step into this position right away, my mind is a lot fresher on the racing side of things than if I were to go away for 3, 4, 5 years and then come back. But yeah, I just think you can definitely guide somebody to keep calm and keep cool, and evaluate situations a little bit more for them, or guide them to make certain mental decisions and stuff. So yeah, I think it's absolutely possible.
Is that a regret then, that you didn't have that guidance, or maybe the correct guidance?
Like I said, I think just the sport now is in a different spot than it used to be.
What does that mean?
10 years ago, like social media was just starting to hit, and I mean, if you look at the technique side of things and how many riders were good, like there's potentially 10 to 15 riders that could win a main event right now, right? So I think everything has advanced so much that now people know more of the right things to do, the way to train. Like a lot of people do the same thing now and whatnot. And I feel like back in the day, there wasn't such thing. Like everybody was kind of like, hey, go race and do this, you know what I mean?
Going with the flow a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more with the flow, where now everybody kind of has these ideas, and I just feel like things are a little bit more, I don't want to say perfected, but are looked into a little bit more in detail. And yeah, I think the reason I probably feel like that now too is over these past few years, or the last 10 years, I was able to witness it firsthand, and it's just like anything. And 10 years from now, it'll probably be in another area again, and so yeah, it's a interesting question, and luckily, I was able to find out firsthand and go through all of this, and I'm just a lot mature now, and yeah, I wish I would have known back then what I do now.
Slightly different question, because I could ask you about your bike setup every week, but that gets boring. So we'll go this way with it. Looking at your career to date, which obviously hasn't been that long, which of these options do you feel like you could have been better at, or maybe if you were better at them, it would have helped you get to where you are today? A, mental contentment, B, acceptance of criticism, or C, communication? Deep.
Probably all of them. I mean, at some point you're going to mess up one of those, so maybe communication is probably the biggest thing. Sometimes what I say, I come off very raw, and it's maybe not the way you should go about it, but I don't know, probably all of them, to be honest.
Do you feel like, I felt like I looked into stuff for this question, and there were so many athletes who said that communication was like a massive overlooked thing? Because I'm guessing when you were growing up, you never felt like that was going to be this major part of your job.
No. Well, I mean, communication can mean a lot of different things. Like sometimes I communicate, but it's not the right way, so you don't get the right outcome. Or you could just, nowadays my communication's just not very good because I don't know why. As far as like text message and stuff like that, but it can mean a lot of different things. I think when it comes to the team, communicating in the right way and not coming off like an ass is the biggest thing. But yeah, I would say communication is probably a big thing that I wouldn't have expected as a young racer, I should say.
Do you feel like you get misunderstood a lot?
I mean, I don't know how I would get misunderstood. I feel like I'm always somewhat the same, so I don't know. People misunderstand me. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty raw and kind of my normal self, so I don't know.
What about the acceptance of criticism thing? I got that from Michael Jordan, so I felt like you were going to lean towards that.
Oh, I mean, when you're successful, you're going to get criticized. I mean, even if you're not successful or you have a bad race, you're going to get. I mean, if I went through my Instagram comments and just sat and read those, I would probably be upset. But yeah, you can't. If there's a quote, don't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from.
Now I feel like this has been flipped.
Now it's flipped on you guys. So that's kind of like, actually, I think Jake Veneta said that. So I know it was a quote that he took from somebody else, but don't take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't take advice from. So that's kind of my mindset.
So that means that if someone in the team criticizes you and says, "Oh, your starts can be better if you do this," you do take that on board, or at least.
Yeah, I mean, if I respect them, or I would, if I would listen to them for advice, I'd take their criticism and try and work on it. But you can't take it. You can't take it from everybody you see, because then you get thrown off and you're kind of in a downward spiral. You have to kind of take it as you got to pick a few people that you're going to listen to, and that's kind of how you have to be true to them and listen to them, because if you take it from everybody, you're going to be lost.
That's the balancing act, right? Because that goes back to the communication. Because someone gives you advice, you're like, I've had too much advice. They take that the wrong way, and you end up in this big mess. That's how fires start.
Yeah, that's when you get like really in confused, or then you start second guessing stuff, and that's not good.
First things first, you're here, and this was all part of a bigger plan if Argentina was cancelled. Now Argentina's on. How has that affected you mentally and your perception of the current situation?
It doesn't change anything. I mean, 1 week less for practice and for testing coming to Argentina, but I mean, I think it's not bothering, let's say, the program too much. We got this weekend a nice race here in A2, and I think it's everything. I mean, everything is good for me. Racing, one more gate drop before Argentina, so it's all getting ready for the season. It's good.
And you must be excited, because this is the big Supercross opportunity. Anaheim 1 had nerves, the other 2 were mudders. This is a real Supercross for you.
Yeah, this is a way more like realistic Supercross race, and I've been now watching the track a bit, and I feel like the rhythms and everything are a little bit, let's say, more like kind of difficult than it was A1. So no, it's good. We got again 2 sets of whoops. It's good to check if I got some improvements or not in these weeks.
And switching gears a little bit, something more deep as an athlete, so this may throw you off. Looking back at your career so far, if you could be better at one of these things, what would you choose, or what do you feel like you could have been better at?
In what?
One.
Oh, right.
Well, we're coming.
Yeah. Oh, you go.
A, communication. B, accepting criticism. Or C, mental contentment.
To be better?
Yeah. What one of those do
Maybe
you feel like you've struggled at?
I don't know if I struggle with some of this. Maybe communication? I don't know.
What, talking to the team? Maybe sometimes you come across the wrong way?
No, I'm good communicating with the team. What was the second one?
Accepting criticism.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Neither. No, from these 3 options, I think I'm quite okay, to be honest.
Oh, you're the perfect athlete.
No, not the perfect, but from these 3 options, I think I'm quite okay.
What would you think?
For sure, not perfect.
Have you
but,
got another option for me that I could have put to you? That is a tough question.
Yeah, it's a tough question. Well, I mean, with communication, it just depends how you want to communicate. Maybe sometimes, if I would have been a bit more hard, maybe should have been better. So let's say communication. Yeah.
That's interesting. So you feel like actually you could have been more aggressive with your decisions and your opinions.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not my personality.
No.
So it's like, yeah, I could have been more hard, but it's not really myself, you know?
Well, it proves that you've gotten to that place because you've ended up here staying for one more week, and clearly because you wanted it and you made it happen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and thanks to the KTM group and guys for letting me come over again. Well, stay for one more week, and because I think it's a great opportunity to, let's say, make a realistic Supercross race again, and it's where everything started this year, so it's nice to end up here and get back home on Sunday.
Looking back at your career to date, which of these options do you feel like maybe you could have been better at, or it would have helped you to improve faster? A, communication. B, mental contentment. Or C, acceptance of criticism.
Probably mental contentment. Is that what you said?
Contentment.
Yeah. And that's just when you're young in the 250 class, you have so many things going in your mind that you don't need to. And just being more focused and more, I guess, just steady, in racing, period, and in that environment. But that's just being a young guy, and everyone goes through it. But, how much different the world would be if 250 guys had the 450 guys' brain.
I would imagine it's quite hard because obviously all of you guys come to each Supercross wanting to win every single week. Ultimately, that's not possible, or it's very near impossible.
Yep.
So you're effectively chasing a goal that isn't realistic, and that must be a bit of a mental battle to accept that isn't actually possible. So although you're striving for it, accept the fact that it's not really realistic.
Yeah, and that's just, you got to be able to manage emotions and know that is part of racing. So you try to be perfect, and that's what you're chasing. But how do you control those up and downs?
When do you feel like the switch flicked for you? Like, can you point to a specific moment where your mentality changed and you became better at this?
Yeah, when I was, I don't know, 26, 27, somewhere in there. I feel like my mind changed a lot. And I don't know. It's just like a different feeling when I'm on the track now racing than, say, when I was before that time.
Do you ever catch yourself almost like falling back into the trap of overthinking or wanting too much or not accepting current situations, and you have to keep yourself in check?
Not really, no. No, I don't feel like I catch myself in a trap, no.
I guess that's where maybe if this was 8 years ago, this start to the season would have been more difficult to accept because it hasn't been easy. There's been up and downs.
Yep.
But because of the position you currently find yourself in, you're able to just accept it mentally in a healthier way.
Yeah, it's this season's interesting. It's just there's so much curveball with the 2 mud races, and I don't know. I feel like it probably will start actually here, Anaheim too.
Looking at your career to date, of these options, what do you feel like has been your shortcoming, or what do you feel like you could have been better at? A, communication, B, mental contentment, or C, acceptance of criticism?
I think D, all the above. Yeah, I mean, you can look at my career in a nutshell, and I mean, everyone says like how talented I am, how fast I go during the week, and then you can see it kind of fall apart on race day. But I have put it together. That's something that I can't forget. I did it all 2022, and then the year before too. So I can't. I'm not going to believe all the critics. Obviously, you could say what you want, judge me, but hey, this sport's tough.
I got the acceptance of criticism from Michael Jordan. I actually researched for this question, and I didn't even consider it until I read it, but I guess actually it's a major part of being a top rider, because you do have people in your ear, right and wrong.
Yeah, and I've actually been completely off social media, no Instagram, no Twitter, so that's kind of just a thing that I need to like let myself just. Let me just figure it out on my own. Don't read the headlines. Don't read anything like that. So it's tough nowadays. You're literally just you're being watched from every which way. Results-wise. So everyone's got a saying, I guess. Media-wise, you just gotta believe in your circle, believe in yourself, and let it play out.
I guess even internally though, like the start of the season hasn't gone well for you. I don't feel like there's a particular reason for it. It's lame to say it's just bad luck, but I do feel like that's the case. And I would imagine that inside the team, maybe people are quick to try to fix a problem that doesn't exist. You don't want to tell them that they're crazy, but there's a fine line of kind of not letting it affect you too much.
Yeah, for sure. And it sucks because like me and Malcolm have obviously been on the bad side of it for 3 rounds now, results-wise. And it's crazy because all off season we felt so good, and like it was cool watching Malcolm build back up. I came back from my elbow injury, and we were just like so hyped just to get here. And then the way it's gone, it's like, oh my gosh. And I know he's probably feeling the same way, just like, gosh, we just need to catch that break, catch that start on the main event, lead some laps, and then it all starts to click. So yeah, we haven't had it easy with 2 of the 3 mud races. That kind of levels the playing field and makes it even gnarlier to do well, but it is what it is. We're here. We have a dry race and a clean slate.
I was wondering this week, like, does the fact that Malcolm's had weird struggles too make it easier on you because you're like, we're all in this together? Or does it make it harder on you because you're like, okay, this team isn't catching a break in any direction?
Yeah, I mean, after last week, we both got off the track around the same time, and we were both last because we both had to come into the pit. I was 2 laps down. He was 1 lap down. We both come into the pit, get off our bikes, and we just look at each other. We're just like, damn, like, what do you say? Like how it just unfolded like that. He crashed on the first turn. I crashed on the second lap. Man, it sucks, but I think most people will look at us and be like, hey, they have what it takes. It's just a matter of time.
I would ask with the weather, you probably don't really miss SoCal at this point, do you?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. We missed, 1 day? We were all kind of in the same boat. So, yeah, it's nice to have the typical now sunny California. But, yeah, it's been good, man. We've had some good days and riding out here at Corona and stuff like that. This week with the rain, we went up to the high devs. But, yeah, definitely ready to get back to Florida, but it's been a good month.
How much of a difference is that from going from Red Bull KTM to the Monster Yamaha Star Racing? Both have Florida-based facilities, but one of them, the team is based there where KTM was based here. With KTM, you guys would go, I feel like a little more back and forth. I would see you guys here for a couple weeks and back. Here with Star, you're just, the opening rounds, it makes sense. The rest of the time, you're Florida, right?
Yeah, pretty much exact opposite of KTM, right? The shop and everything with Star Racing Yamaha is at the farm. So it's, for testing, for me, it's awesome. We can do our program and do our boot camp, but then all the guys are there to see what's happening. And if we need to work, we go to work. So, yeah, like I said, out here is more just for riding, putting in the laps, and they still have the shop out here than the test track. So it's definitely a lot, like, complete opposite of what it was in the past. So, yeah, it's been really nice, though.
Again, with KTM, Baker's factory, so you're used to having a compound, the ability to test, like technicians could fly in, different stuff like that, but I'm imagining those were more scheduled. With Star having literally everything on the property, have you run into days where you've just had something's like aha moment as you were riding, like, man, I need to work on this? Have you actually noticed the difference how quickly you can chase and try things with everybody being right there in the building?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's something, like you said, we in the off season, like, you got to a point where we're like, all right, we want to make an improvement, and within an hour I got anything I'm asking for. So it's really nice, and then you're not having to get on a plane and come out west and then get back and stuff like that. But it's cool too. Like I've always said, like, for us, it's been nice to go test one day and then we can go to a completely different track with a different track builder at some of the other facilities there in Tallahassee and get a complete different field track and how it works there. So for me, it's been awesome. But yeah, we didn't test much. We probably had 2 full days of testing, and I was happy. Come December 1st, we haven't done much, but it's good, man. Like I said, if I want a purple handlebar, I can have it that same hour.
Speaking of testing, one odd item I know, so you have your teammate Tomac and Jay Coop are both on cable clutch. The Yamaha has the option of going hydro. Of course, you've been on hydro for a long time with KTM. How quickly did you switch to it on the Yamaha? We actually me and Jamie tried it this week, and I was stoked how well it works on this bike. And I'm not a hydro guy.
I don't want to tell my secrets, but for me, it was a game changer. After Paris, we got it and tried it, and like right away, I was like, hell yeah, I like that feel. Help my starts, help on the track. So, but it's all personal preference, right? Like you said, I've been on a hydraulic for a long time, and I just prefer that feel. So it's cool that Yamaha gives us the option for sure.
Was it weird? Because I feel like most riders I ask would say they would want to go back to it, like would prefer cable. When you went to Yamaha, were you like actually excited to ride a cable and then got it and was like, maybe this isn't what I thought it was going to be?
Well, it is funny, because they nailed the cable clutch. It's really good. But yeah, I told him, I was like, it's too good. Like, it's too much feel for me. I want a on and off feeling. That's just what I like. So It's kind of funny when you explain to the guys like that. They're like, wait.
I want it to be worse.
Yeah, I want your clutch worse. What?
Your mechanics even shake his head back here.
So, I like it. Stresses Peanut out, but
Stresses Peanut out. Does he get a little hard on it when he doesn't have the ability to adjust it back and forth, do you think, Peanut?
He likes to adjust the lever in and out because it's got like a little adjustment right on the lever, so he likes that part. But this is the first hydraulic system I've worked on, so I'm always like, I like the cable better.
All right.
Yeah, causing havoc, as always.
Let's put your feet to the fire a little bit. Compared to your championship years at this point in the season, do you feel as competitive? Do you feel like you still have things to work on? Or do we feel a little better even than your title years?
I think for me, I'm in a better spot than I was, personally. I think my speed's probably the best it's been compared to those years. But you never know. Every series is different. I feel like I'm in a great spot to capitalize, but you never know. Some guy could catch fire, and then all of a sudden you're playing catch-up. So got to stay in it. We're still working. I still feel like I'm actually getting better each week. I always try to be around 80% at A1 and kind of get to 100 by East Coast. So I think I'm very happy with where I'm at, and I still think we're improving.
Last one for you. So we always like to say at the beginning of every year, the whole, this is the deepest field ever, that kind of whole thing. Any of these guys could win, et cetera, et cetera. Because of the mud conditions, we definitely have had more of an up and down field, but you yourself on the bike, seeing who you're racing, does this feel like the deepest you've ever raced, or is it pretty similar to what you've experienced in years past?
Honestly, I think it has taken a step forward, and we saw that 3 different winners. Doesn't really happen. I think... And even now, the guys that we're racing, it seems like everyone's on their game. And especially past champions like Jason, I feel like has really stepped it up this year. And then you got all the young guys like, Chase and Jed and Hunter and those guys who've stepped it up. And I think you got guys too like Dylan who have kind of had resurgences. So I think it is pretty stacked, to be honest. But we'll see, right? I think I wouldn't be surprised if we got later in the season and we had 8 winners, and I wouldn't be surprised if we had 2 more the rest of the year. You know, it's hard to say, but I do feel like it's a lot more competitive. I think a lot of guys right now, at least, are very confident in being able to be the guy. So no one's really claimed it yet. So hopefully that can be me. You know?
It's fun. It makes almost feel like a little shorter season. The 3 year, I wouldn't say the first 3 openers are throwaways, but it feels like it a little more.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you can't say they're throwaways by any means, but I do think it's a question mark, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of guys shown a lot of good potential, but then you don't have a clear answer of which way it's going to go. So for fans, I'm sure it's sweet, and even for us racers, like I said, I think everyone's still going to the line and thinking and really believing they can go win a main event.